hard to achieve it.
Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague Annette King has talked about the terrible tragedy, the horror show, the comedy that is unravelling under this government. It is no way to run a country. And far be it from me normally to comment on the outfits of other members in this House. It's not normally my style, but the Sunday Star Times has given me a little bit of licence lately with my newly found reputation for sartorial elegance. And some wag on Twitter I see has commented that the member who's just resumed her seat has today assumed the comedy wrestling bout of the vacant WBA political featherweight title. It's certainly a stunning outfit. But we're moving back to the topic at hand, the fact that this government is running the country in an appalling fashion. Just today, we have had the latest of Stephen Joyce's glossy brochures. It's come out. His year-long comms plan has finally ended. The business growth agenda has produced nothing that we can see. We have 30,000 fewer jobs in this country as a consequence of this government being in office in the past year. The business growth agenda, it's a set of glossy brochures devoid of any meaningful plan, and in fact the only thing Stephen Joyce has created in that year is a boost at the printing presses. He's been churning out these glossy brochures left, right and centre. This government has no plan, and that is no way to run a country. 30,000 fewer jobs than there were a year ago. 17,000 manufacturing jobs have gone overseas in the past year, or gone completely. New Zealanders have been losing their jobs. Unemployment is pushing 7%. There are 163,000 unemployed people. Unemployment hasn't been this bad since National were last in government. Mr. Speaker, we have people also helping that unemployment rate by moving to Australia. It would be worse if we didn't have 1,000 Kiwis a week leaving permanently for Australia. And the sad thing is, 40% of those people are aged 18 to 30. That is our future. The brighter future they're choosing is offshore. Now, we know that in total over 180,000 New Zealanders have left for Australia since John Key took office. And it's no wonder. The other statistic we've had this week, Mr. Speaker, is that the wage gap with Australia has grown by 50% under this government. This government promised to reduce the wage gap with Australia. Instead, it has grown by 50%. It was $120 a week when John Key took office. Now it's $180 a week. That presents no hope to young New Zealanders who hope to get ahead. Mr. Speaker, there are so many ways this government is demonstrating that they are not fit to run this country. When we count back the ways over the years that they've been in office, we can go right back to the broken promise on GST. We can see the teapot tapes that started to pull the wheels off, that saw the popularity of the government start to drop. We've seen the growing wage gap between rich and poor, worse than it's ever been in recorded history in this country. This is a government, Mr. Henry, with the worst economic growth record of any government in the last 50 years. It is a disgrace. This is no way to run the country. We've also seen ACC scandals abounding. We've seen a letter of support written by a minister with a conflict of interest. We've seen privacy breaches sent out to Bronwyn Puller, sensitive client data. We've seen a Sky City deal that has gone wrong for the government, a report that sees the PM not vindicated but implicated. And then we see in the education sector, Hekia Parata. She says, let's increase the class sizes. She backs down, then she's on to NovaPay, and on it goes. A train wreck in the making. That's no way, Mr. Speaker, to run a country. And then if we think about the higher ethical standards this minister, Prime Minister promised, we don't see any evidence of it. We see Mr. Banks with his brown envelopes still traipsing around with empty brown envelopes, or so he tells us, or so he thinks. He can't remember helicopter flights, he can't remember cheap accommodation, and he certainly can't remember any donations. Well, the police said Mr. Banks filed a false declaration, but that it was too late to prosecute him. And then we go on to the GCSB. Mr. Key suddenly has a touch of the Banksies. He can't remember what happened either. It's spreading. And onwards we go. Today, the Minister of Economic Development couldn't remember either. And then we've got privacy breaches, Mr. Speaker. On it goes, on it goes, on it goes. It's no way to run a country.
Tim McIntyre.
Speaker, that member for Dunedin North is guilty of uttering the most cliches and the worst speeches of any member from his district for 50 years. And I'm